Welcome to the Venus Flytrap podcast. My name is Dr. Stephen Paul Edwards, and I am your host. And this is where we talk about all kinds of relationships, what many people might call toxic relationships, although there is no actual diagnosis of what a toxic relationship is. But you know what I mean, right? The kind of relationship that you regret ever being in and sometimes take months or even years to recover from because you feel that you are so wounded. Not uncommon. In fact, I ask people, have you ever been involved in a toxic relationship? Most people, and statistically proven, would say yes. If somebody says no, I say you need to get out more often. But anyway, why do we create them? Why do we get into them? Why do we stay in them? And how, of course, do we get out of them? Well, we're going to look at all those things. Usually, these relationships that we get into that we would call toxic are results of patterns that we create in our childhood. And so, how do we get out of them? How do we change those patterns? We're going to talk about that, so you can live the life that you truly were born to live and that you desire to live. Right. So, um, how do we identify these patterns? We're going to talk about that too. And what I say to people, look, it's better to prevent it happening than cure it, right? So prevention before the cure. So if you're watching this and say, Stephen, I have not been in a toxic relationship, well, you got to look at the fact that you probably lie about other things too, right? But that's okay. We want to make sure you don't ever get in one. Or if you've been in one and you're out of one, you never get back in one again. And if you're in one, how the heck do you get out of it, right? Because it's not always that easy, right? Our lives become really intertwined and difficult to extrapolate ourselves from. But we've got to realize, though, that everything is a relationship. And these patterns don't just come into our relationships in terms of our spouse or wife or partner or significant other, whatever you want to call it. They affect everything in our lives, our career, our relationship with money, whether you have one or you don't, your relationship with your creator, whether you have one or you don't. All these things are affected by these patterns that are created in our childhood that we're not even aware that we have. And they're driven usually by what I call transparent beliefs. These are beliefs that we have, that we see and perceive the world through, that we're not even aware we have those results, or that those beliefs can lead us in the direction we really don't want to go. All right. So let's see here. Money, God, the universe. So I can promise you this. The VFT podcast, the Venus Flytrap podcast, is going to be entertaining. We're going to have fun together. It's going to be enlightening. You're going to learn things you did not know before that can have a powerful, positive, permanent impact in the quality of your life in all areas of your life. So let's get started.
A tailored suit in a London rain. He built an empire to mask the pain. A self-made man with a heart and heart, watching the world from a place apart. Then she walked in like a sudden blade, in the midnight heat where the shadows played. A fallen heiress with a rebel soul, ready to take back all control. She lived by no rules but her own desire, wrapping his life in a ring of fire. An international ghost of a golden age, stepping back onto the center stage. Oh, the Venus flytrap.
Okay, let's get started then. And how do we create these patterns? Like I said, that usually, mostly created in our childhood. And what happens in our childhood, we are told things over and over again about ourselves. Not always directly that you're not good enough, but inferred, right? Why can you never get anything right? You always do this. You always make this mistake. What is wrong with you? Probably heard those things a few times, right? So what happens is over time, we don't need anybody else to say those things to us anymore. We've heard them so often that they're kind of like a, gonna date myself here a little bit, like a CD, right? You put a CD in a CD player, and it's always going to play the same way. But if you take the CD out of the CD player and you scratch across it with a sharp instrument and you put it back in the CD player, what's going to happen? Well, first of all, you're probably going to ruin the CD player, which is why they don't have them anymore. But also, it's never going to play the same way again, right? What we've done is we've interrupted that pattern. And once we've interrupted a pattern that we've been playing over and over again in our lives, then we can create a new pattern. How? Exactly the same way the pattern that's taking you in the wrong direction was created by saying things over and over, being aware of what we're thinking, stinking thinking, right? Um, Believing things and saying things that aren't true, but we believe they are. So here's what you need to know about beliefs. If you don't already know this, none of them are true. None of them. Whoa, 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 whoa. Hang on a second there, Stephen. Maybe some of your beliefs aren't true, but mine all true. No, no, they're not. We make them all up, right? We make them all up to give us some kind of certainty in life because a belief is a feeling of certainty, something we feel certain about. Doesn't make it true, right? So when someone says to you, you're an idiot, I mean, that could be true, but it probably not, right? You're not an idiot. But what happens is you start to think, I'm an idiot. And so, what kind of behavior can you expect if you're telling yourself you're an idiot all the time? Probably idiotic behavior, right? It's a self fulfilling prophecy. So, we've got to really be conscious of what we're thinking. So, here's the reality we are creating our own reality all the time. And it's exhausting when it's a reality you don't want to live, right? You're going, yeah, no kidding, right? So, our three creative, inborn creative tools that we manifest everything with, whether it's good, bad, or ugly, are our thoughts, are our words, and our actions. So you've got to be careful what you think about. What do they say? Be careful what you ask for because you're probably going to get it. Well, you're asking all the time. Every thought, write this down. Every thought is a prayer. Nuh-uh. Uh-huh. Why? Because a thought, they've been able to measure this now, so don't argue with me. Every thought is an electromagnetic field of energy. Great, Stephen. Well, what does that mean? And how does it help me? Because that means it's a vibration, it's frequency. And if you think it a lot, you're frequently thinking about it, and it's a frequency. You're sending a frequency out into the universe. Every thought is a prayer. Now, second level creation, what you say. Do me a favor, put your hand in front of your face, in front of your mouth, actually. Put your hand in front of your mouth and speak a word, any word. I don't care what it is. Could be bullshit. I don't care. Whatever it is, say a word and put your hand close enough to your mouth. And when you say that word, what do you feel? No, you don't feel like an idiot. You feel a vibration. You feel your breath, right? And your breath is what? Is a vibration. Nuh-uh. Uh-huh. So now you got another level of vibratory energy, another electromagnetic field of energy that is a vibration. Listen, Linda, in the Bible, yes, we're going to go to the Bible. Yes, we're going to go to the Bible. Listen, I am not religious in any way, shape, or form, but I do know quite a little bit about religion, right? And I know even more about spirituality. And people say, well, Stephen, what is the difference between spirituality and religion? It's very simple. Religion is for people who don't want to go to hell. And spirituality is for people that have already been there. Okay, pretty simple. So now, when we say a word, we create a vibration. When we think a thought, it creates a vibration. When we move in the world, we take action. What happens? You move in the world, you move the molecular structure of the universe. Yes, you're that powerful. You are affecting not just you, but the entire universe. What does universe even mean? I have no idea. Can you check it out? It means uni, one, verse, song, the one song, right? So we are impacting that universe. How? Thoughts, words, and actions, right? So now, when our thoughts, words, and actions align, that's the new symbol for align. When they align, that's called congruency, right? And that means you manifest things even faster when you can get those to align. When you are saying one thing and wanting another, now you got mixed energy. So people say, God, man, I hate my job. Okay. But I need it because I need an income. Mm. Now you got conflicting energy, right? So whichever is the strongest is going to win. So sometimes people say, man, I just lost my job. I go, congratulations. No, man, I need the money. Well, then, you should have been thinking more about needing the money than losing your job or not wanting your job, not wanting to go to work, pulling your feet, not pulling your feet, dragging your feet on the way to work, telling people, I hate this job, man. I wish I didn't have to do it. Okay, well, you asked for it, right? Sometimes I use the analogy, of the past because I'm when we went through the different revolutions, the Industrial Revolution, right? People lost their jobs in factories en masse, right? And that happened. Why? Because God didn't like them. No, it happened because they asked for it. Every day they said, I hate my job. I wish I didn't have this job. So there you go. Boom. Genie in a bottle, right? You are a genie in a bottle, right? You're going to manifest those things. And so what we created, so you didn't, people did not you, right? You probably weren't even born then. But anyway, you, what you wanted was, so technology was created so you didn't have to do that job. And so people were given what they wanted. And what did they want? Well, what did people see when they look around? What was their ceiling of what they thought was their possibilities? And they looked around on the upper level of the factory, and what did they see? Like these people dressed in white shirts in offices drinking cups of tea. That's an easy life. That's the life I want. So what did the blue collar workers of that period of time in our history, what did they become? That's right. They became white collar workers. And we had technology, robotics, and other things that did that production line job for them to a large degree. Now, same thing happens with every revolution. And we're going through another revolution now, aren't we? Right? But the point is, we create it what? With our thoughts, with our words, and our actions. So be very aware of what you're thinking. So we're seeing now en masse, technology is going to take over all the jobs, right? And people are going to say, and people are right now trying to hang on, hang on a minute. They're trying to hang on to these jobs that they don't really want, but they need the money. So what if they have been praying, thinking, saying, and acting like they don't want the job? And that is the signal you're sending to the universe. And you're going to get what you ask for consistently with your thoughts, your words, and your actions, with passion, right? So, what do they say? You asked for it, now you got it. What are you going to do? And so, what we're saying, either congruently or incongruently, is I want to have control of my own life. I want to have control of my own finances. I don't want to be reliant on a company who, on a whim, could decide they don't need me anymore and lay me off. And then what am I going to do? Yeah. If you're 21, 22, 23, you got a lot more options than when you're 61, 62, 63, right? Because then now you got to re educate, learn something new that maybe is overwhelming for you. Now you're screwed, right? Now you got a problem, right? So, what if this massive movement, this massive change in society from a working class society, not a working class society, but a working society where people work for other people, they exchange time for money, are starting to say, I need to be an entrepreneur. I need to have a business. And it's never been easier to start a business because now you don't need an army of people, right? You just need AI, right? There are going to be $1 billion companies that are started with 3 people and run by 3 people and only need 3 people and eventually 1, right? So get on board. But you're going to create that with your thoughts, words, and actions. If you say, I'm just not entrepreneurial, fine. You just explain to the universe that you're not entrepreneurial. So don't worry about it. Just keep doing what you're doing until you hit a wall and then you realize you should have done it 5, 10 years ago, right? But it's never too late. All right. So thoughts, words, and actions. So in a relationship context, what are you thinking about yourself? What do you think about your own self? Well, do you value yourself? We went through this in the previous podcast, didn't I? You've got to value yourself. That comes from thoughts, thinking, believing that you are of value. Well, it could be argued either. I mean, you are of value, right? No matter what you think. If you don't think you're of value, it doesn't make it true. It's just something you believe. And what do we know about beliefs? You make them all up. So why not make up beliefs that are going to take you in the direction you want to go rather than beliefs that are take you in the opposite direction? because you were told these things by other people, and now you've got your own CD in there, right? There's whirling around, telling you the same things those people told you. Eventually, you don't need the people telling you anymore. You're telling yourself, right? I'm just not good enough. Nothing I do ever works out. Oh man, I've been broke for, or even poor, even worse, right? I'm just broke, man. I never have any money. I'm broke. No, you're not broke. You're not. You go, Stephen, hang on a second. Let me show you my latest bank statement. I'm broke. All right. Whether you're broke or not has nothing to do with your bank statement. Your bank statement is a reflection of your thoughts, words, and actions. You want to change your bank statement, change your thoughts, words, and actions. So, okay, now we're going to talk about something else. Kind of related, though, right? So, there's nothing wrong with having material things. So you're going, thank God, because a lot of what you've been saying made me feel like I shouldn't want any material things. That's not what I said. Check it out. Check it out. Go back through it again. I never said there's anything wrong with having material things. I never said there's anything wrong with having wealth. I could have sworn you said that. Well, you'd be swearing wrong because here's what I actually said. You don't want to be attached to those things, right? Nothing wrong with having them. But some people feel there is something wrong with it, right? Oh, I don't feel I'm worthy of these things. Great. Well, they'll be taken off you then. They'll disappear because you said you weren't worthy of them. So stop saying that, right? Start saying this is something I should be grateful for. I am grateful for it. I appreciate it while I have it. And I know it's not permanent, right? It's going to come and it's going to go. You said, well, Stephen, I don't want to think of a relationship that way. Well, it is. It's going to come and go because whether you stay with the same person for the rest of your life or not, they are not the same for the rest of their life. They're changing constantly. There's only one constant in the universe, right? And that is change. So your partner is changing. The question is, are you going to change together? You're going to grow together or you're going to grow apart. And unfortunately, most people grow apart. I think the divorce rate is it like 1 and 2? That's just the people that get divorced. That's not counting the people that stay together because they're too afraid to leave each other and they make excuses. Well, I got to stay together because of the kids, what my family will think, what society will think. I don't want to be a failure. Well, if you stay, you already are. You're a failure. In that, you're failing yourself because you're putting other people's opinion in front of your own opinions about yourself. And that's not going to end well. And that'll create much unhappiness, not just for you, but for everybody in your family, right? I know. Think about that for a minute. Don't be selfish, right? Don't stay in a relationship where there is no hope. Don't stay in a relationship where maybe you want to make changes and you're open to suggestions and you're open to doing things differently, but they're not. You can't force anybody to do anything. You can try. And you even maybe will get them to counseling or get some help, but sometimes they're just going to give lip service to it just to keep you quiet. And so they can just keep going the way they're going and cling to being comfortable, or they think they're comfortable, or it's less scary than what they don't know. I'd rather stay the devil I know than the devil I don't know. So all these things we've got to be careful of, and they all revolve around three things: thoughts, words, and actions. See the one for action? Like that. I even got a click on it. Anyway, those three things are what we are using to create what? Everything. The good, the bad, and the ugly, right? And we want to be congruent, right? We got to be careful what we think. Why? Because if you ask, which you're doing, every thought is a what? A prayer. Yes, I'm repeating myself. Yes, I'm repeating myself. So we got to do that. We got to repeat these things over and over, right? It's like in a relationship, you can't tell someone you love them 3 years ago and expect them to remember today. You've got to keep reinforcing it. Like anything in life, you want to be healthy, you want to be fit. Yeah, look at me. You want to be fit and healthy. You want to be strong. You want to build muscle. Don't look at me. But the point is, you go to the gym, right? You somehow work out. Maybe you play a sport that causes you to use those muscles and be healthy. But it's not something you can do once and expect to be healthy for the rest of your life. It's an ongoing process. Your brain, your mind is an ongoing thing you got to work out. And if you work out the wrong way, physically, you lift the weights the wrong way, you're going to hurt yourself, right? And the same thing with how you think. We've got to think the right thoughts. Now, get into another situation here when we start talking about, well, what's right and what's wrong? Okay. All right. And you've all heard this. There is no right, there is no wrong. But they all have consequences. Your thoughts have consequences, your words have consequences, and your actions have consequences. Now, simple example. Let's say you want to get out of a room. If you think you can't get out of the room, there's no way out. You probably won't even try, will you? There's no point. There's just no way out of this room. Or if you think, I know there's a way out of this room, I'm going to find it. Now, what are you going to do? You're going to take, you're thinking that, right? You're saying that. Maybe you're even saying it out loud. Can you show me the way out of the room to other people who are in the room? Yeah, it's just over there's a door. Oh man, I didn't see that. Right? On your actions, right? Are you actually looking for a way out? Are you using your physicality to find a way out? Thoughts, words, and actions. Yes, I know. I just repeated myself again. So, to break these patterns that were created when we were children, that we're not even aware of right now, here's what we're aware of the results, right? We're going, how does this keep happening to me? What is wrong with me? Wrong questions. If you want to get back to who you really are, you've got to remind, which means change your mind, remind yourself of who you really are. And that way, when you remember who you are, what did I just say? Remember, become part of the member again. What's the member? The universe, right? If you are thinking these negative thoughts about yourself and believing them, your fault, right? It's your fault. From now on, because now you know. You can't think those things, believe those things, and expect to go in the right way. To expect life to go in the direction you want to go, because you've already decided it's not going to go that way. It's going to go the wrong way. What did I say? In essence, whether you believe you can or you believe you can't, either way, you're exactly right. So, we're going to be talking in this series about non attachment. How do we detach from things that we are attached to, right? It's a change of mindset, right? Like I said, it doesn't mean it's wrong to have those things. The challenge is attachment to those things. You know, example, Buddhism, right? Which I know you're all very familiar with, right? Well, we all are to some degree, right? And so we had these monks called Buddhist monks, and they wear these red robes, right? And they chant, and they have this unusual music. Um, and I just said it was kind of no such thing as a coincidence. Anyway, so they have these rituals, correct? A lot of rituals. And those rituals that they have are there to remind them. What? Remind them. Hi, listen, I'm sorry to interrupt, but we're here to make a public service announcement. If you're enjoying this conversation, which I know you are, right? Because if you say no, you probably lie about other things too, right? So if you're enjoying this, which I really do hope that you are, please take a moment to follow or hit the subscribe button and the like button so you never miss an episode. Let's get back to the conversation of who they really are and to remember, connect with the member, the whole, the oneness in the universe. Yeah, it's not a secret, right? It's just that we don't recognize it because in our culture here in the United States and a lot of places in the world, everything we learn, everything we're told is the exact opposite. That we live in this material world, and what we've got to do is have power over this material world. And as Dr. Phil, you remember him? He used to say, how's that working for you? It doesn't work, right? Trying to get control over the material world is like trying to train a bunch of cats, right? It's all over the place, right? And so it's like, or, like what's the other thing? You take the hammer, right, and you try, you know what I mean, right? Yeah. What do they call that when they're popping up all over? You know what I mean. Email me. So anyway, these things are going on stresses you out, or on the bamboo sticks with the plates on top, and you're running around trying to keep them all from falling, right? And at the end of the day, you're exhausted when you come home and you go, holy hey, what a day that was, right? Or a week, or a month, or a year, or your lifetime. So it's on the everything begins and ends on the inside. That's the circle of life, right? And trying to control people, trying to control events, trying to control the material world, it never works. So let me give you an example here. This is this is my initial thought about this, right? Stephen, just get to it. All right. So the Buddhists, I'm sure you know this, right? Have these rituals that they follow. If they come to town where you live and you go see them, they'll usually be there for about a week. And it's somewhere in the theater or wherever they're going to perform or somewhere locally, they're going to create a sand mandala, right? And these mandalas are just extraordinary. They're so beautiful. And they're created using straws and sand. And, there's usually about 10 or 12 monks that'll work on it during the course of the week. And when they're finished, it's just mind blowing. I remember thinking, man, I could probably put some spray on that, right? So it doesn't all fall apart. And then I could put it on a wall in my house and it would just be like incredible, right? So when they finish the mandala, what do? They scrape up all the sand, put it in the middle, take it all down to the river, and throw it in the river. What? I know, crazy. Why? Because it's a reminder that nothing is permanent, that everything will come and go, that the only constant in the universe in which we live is change. And so you have to let go of attachment. It's attachment that creates suffering. I know, deep, right? So, what kind of thing do we have to let go of attachment to? Everything. Well, what about my wife? What about my husband? What about my boyfriend? What about my leg? Yeah, you got to let go. I'm not so sure about the leg thing. But anyway, yes, you got to be unattached. How do you be unattached to your spouse who is everything? No, they're not, and they shouldn't be. What? Yep. That's what I've been told. I've been told all my life that I'm supposed to marry a handsome guy, knight on the knight on a white shiny horse. Is it a shiny horse? Anyway, a white horse, and that he will take care of me for the rest of my life, and I've got to make him the center of my world. Yeah. Well, once again, how is that working for you? Most of the women out there are going, "Oh my God, who said that? Who ever taught that? They were crazy." Well, I know, but you're not as old as me, and that's how it was when I was being raised. Anyway, my point is, that's just going to create attachment. You're going to need them to constantly validate you. You're going to need them to always be there for you. And you go, what's wrong with that? Well, it's attachment. So, how do you not be attached to that? Okay, well, this is going to go down well and not well, depending on how you look at it. So, I believe that the way to not have attachment to the material world or anyone to that level is to have faith in a higher power. Now, I just said earlier, I'm not religious, and I'm not. I think most religions have been a cause of a lot of suffering in our world, but not the religion itself, but the dogma that seems to go with it, right? That's man made, all right? So I do not believe for 1 second that the Bible was written by God. It wasn't. It was written by men. And actually, a long time after any occurrences, incidents that may or may not have happened. And so man put into that book scary things to terrify people about God. So you better believe in God, because if you don't, you're going to go to, where is it, damnation, go to hell, purgatory. Absolute bullshit, right? It's designed to scare you into doing what they thought was the best for you, which was believing these words. Because these words, these teachings are what is going to make you happy. Yeah. And it, but it was written by God thousands of years ago, and then God forgot about us and left us here and didn't do any updates, because what's the point? I mean, it's nonsense. You can have your own personal one-on-one relationship with the God or the universe, whatever you want to call it. Call him Brian if you want. It doesn't matter. He's got no ego in it, or she's got no ego in it. They don't have a gender. They do have an agenda, but not agenda, right? So we've got to grow up, right? We've got to stop believing in these ridiculous fairy tales, just the same as one day you had to realize there's no Father Christmas, there's no tooth fairies, all right? They don't exist. However, the universe and God definitely exists, and I have proof. You're going, well, why haven't you published it? Because it's not in writing, it's inside of me. It's my own personal experiences, which are profound. And we may get into some of that later on. But if you make that your foundation, you make that how a higher power number one in your life, and you make your spouse and your partner, significant other, just underneath that, then if they leave, you're not alone. If they die, you're not alone because that relationship with your creator is forever and ever. Amen. All right. So there's truth to these religions. Of course there's, but the core of them, they all, without exception, say the same thing. Love one another. Do unto others as you would do unto yourself. Be kind. Be generous. Take care of your neighbor if and when they need it. Not through social services, right? The people begrudge. They're taking money from my taxes to give people Medicaid and what's it, Medicare. Listen, if somebody needs it, we should, as a culture, as a community, as a society, take care of those who have fallen down and can't get up yet. Give them a helping hand. The problem is when it becomes forced on people, they don't want to give it anymore. They want to feel like they're giving because they want to give and are making a difference. And we've taken that and hollowed that out of our society to where people who have fallen down, people who got old, people who can't contribute the same way they could when they were younger, they're a pain in the ass. They're a problem. How crazy is that? What kind of a society does that? Yeah, not a very kind society, right? All right, so what did we learn today? Probably nothing. But you haven't been making notes, right? So listen. Oh my God, that used to be that video on YouTube. You ever see it? Where there's that little kid talking to his mom, right? And his mom is trying to talk reason into him, and he doesn't want to know, right? So, and he calls his mom by her name. Her name is Linda, and he's trying to get her to see his way in the world. And she used to be trying to get him to see reason. And he'd be like, Linda, 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 listen, right? About 4 years old. I don't know what that kid's doing today, but he's probably successful. Anyway, so I say that occasionally when I'm going to say, listen, I'm reminded of that. It's an anchor, right? And we want to use anchors in our lives in a positive way. So when we hear a word or we do something, it reminds us instantly, puts us in that mode that we want to be in, right? So that's a positive pattern, right? It's a positive um, association, right? And so what we want to do is the same thing with our beliefs, our rules, our values in life. And we want to set them up so we can be happy. Unfortunately, we have lots of these things, and you've heard me talk about that a lot, that everything happens to you and nothing happens for you. Nothing good ever happens for me. Nothing goes right for me. Really? That must really suck. Bad life, that. You might as well just check out. So, anyway, we can't say those things. But we can, but if we do, we're going to have consequences, right? Your thoughts, words, and actions have consequences. And if we want to change the way we interact in the world, in our relationships, which could be your career, could be your family, could be with your significant other, it can be all of those things, right? Because they're all relationships. And we want to have better relationships. We've got to have better thoughts, better words, better actions. We need to remind ourselves, reprogram our mind that takes us in the direction we want to go rather than allowing it to take us in the direction we want to go because we weren't aware of patterns of thought, words, and actions that we've had that have been causing us to repeat the same patterns that we don't want to keep repeating. People say, I'm not going to be in a relationship for a year because I need to get over the last one. And then after a year or 6 months, a year, whatever, they get in a relationship and they meet the same person in a different body because they didn't do any work on their mind. on their thoughts, their words, their actions. They want to stay in a state of forgetfulness, forgetting who they really are, and letting other people allow them to be a victim. Yeah. Misery loves company, right? Yeah. They want you to sit in the hallway with them because we know that when God closes one door, God opens another, right? Or a window. Anyway, you know what I mean, right? And the people that are sitting in the hallway have recognized it can be hell in the hallway, right? But they make it hell because they don't have any faith. They don't have the belief that, yes, they might be in darkness right now. Yes, they're in the hallway right now, but the light is ahead of them. They just got to move in faith. They don't have any certainty. There's no proof. All they have is faith. I know for sure. Is that a word? Sure? Yeah. For sure that the light will be seen at some point. It may not be tomorrow, but it's ahead. Right. And so they keep moving. And all the time, people are calling them, hey, come and sit down here with us. We're drinking cups of tea. You're going to be so happy. Don't be uncomfortable. Don't go down there. It's dangerous. And a lot of people do. They go, okay, yeah, move over, let me in. No faith there, right? So you're being tested, tempted to forget who you really are and stay in the misery that you have created. How? Your thoughts, word. Listen, do I have to keep repeating myself? Yeah, I'm probably going to do it anyway, right? So that here endeth the lesson for the first day. We've got to identify the patterns in our past, how they were created, right? What happened when we were a child in our formative years that caused us to believe these things today? And we've been carrying those patterns with us our entire lives, like carrying a ball and chain, right? And getting into relationships that had no chance of ever working because those patterns would destroy it and destroy whatever you create. And society wants you to believe you're a victim to those things, that you can't change those things. Well, I'm here to tell you they're right. I'm sorry, they're wrong, right? It's not true. You can change all those things. And I'm going to give you the tools. I'm going to give you all the things you need, the resources that you need to change those patterns once and for all, recreate new patterns, and live the life you deserve to live. Well, everybody says that. It's true. You do deserve it. Why wouldn't you deserve it? Send me the list and I'll look over it and I'll tell you which ones are right and which ones are wrong. Or you could just make the list and say they're all wrong and then change them. Up to you. You have that option. All right. So, you know about Soul Tree. I've mentioned it a few times. So, we're going to finish out by me sharing with you some more Soul Tree to give nourishment to your soul, give you the energy and support that you need to live another day. Yeah, just one. This piece of Soul Tree is called Who You Really Are. So you know the drill. Get your feet on the floor. Get in a relaxed position, whatever that is for you, right? And let's take a deep breath. And we should let that out. Another deep breath in and let it out. Now, did you breathe out through your heart? You got to remember that, right? It's very important. We talked about it. You're not really breathing out through your heart, but you're imagining it. What did I say about imagination? The brain cannot recognize the difference between something we vividly imagine and something that actually happens in the physical world. It's true. So, this piece of Soul Tree, with your eyes closed, please, ladies and gentlemen, is called Who You Really Are. Imagine a world in which all your wishes are granted, where all your desires are from seeds carefully planted. Love flows from your heart and expands across the land. All your questions have been answered. You now understand. There is no direction that you cannot take if you choose. The universe is all yours, so now you have nothing to lose. You have created the vision that has become the new frontier. Now all the dreams you ever dreamed manifest for you here. As you look out once more from the point of no return, You remember with everything that there is nothing to learn. You chose to forget that which your soul always knows, that you are the light into which all of creation flows. The greatest celebration suddenly and vividly breaks out in bliss. There has never been the feeling or a moment quite like this. The entirety of totality that came to exist from the brightest star has come to be with you as you accept and be who you really are. Deep breath in, out through your heart. Another deep breath in, out through your heart. Gently open your eyes and feel that. Feel that vibration. Feel those thoughts, those words, and those actions that you're imagining in your mind. Feel all that in your heart. How did it feel to remember who you really are? Hopefully good. If not, see me after class. All right, so now, just remember 3 chapters of the book for free in the notes. The 7 signs that you might be in a toxic relationship. And also, if you'd like to spend 30 minutes with me in a complimentary counseling session to see if there are some patterns that I might be able to help you with in your relationships, which could be in your personal relationships, your love relationships, your marriages, your relationship with your boyfriend, girlfriend, money, whatever it is, we can work on those patterns so you can start to manifest what you truly want and you truly deserve. In the meantime, remember, nothing happens to you. Everything happens for you.
Let's go. Spiritual sparkle in a world of gray, finding the truth in the disarray. It's a raw confession of a life lived fast, breaking the chains of a heavy past, from the erotic spirit to the soul's rebirth, finding what a human life is really worth. Sex, lies, and the repercussions stay as we dance the final act away. Just a true story of a love so deep, promises that we could never keep. In the garden of the trap we lay, waiting for the break of a